Well, it's a great pleasure to see you all this morning. Joy to be here as always and to worship God together. Thank you, Freddie, for leading us, you and Steve. Wonderful, wonderful. So I want to just talk about this our trip to Burundi, and this is a kind of little intro. So this September, the Fekabu churches of Burundi, and some of you may remember Etienne. He was the leader. He was the leader of this group, and that's how we got associated with them. We met him in Nairobi, and he invited us to Burundi. So they're celebrating their 50th anniversary. They're something like 500 churches, 25,000 people. It's their 50th anniversary. So it's a great privilege to be there. And as Chris said, Chris will be there representing Ivy Church, which I've supported that church, that movement for many years, and I'll be going also Josh and James and Noah. I've been visiting Burundi for about 25 years, and the first time I went, Josh came with me, so that's why he thought it appropriate that when he goes again, he wants to bring Noah, his son, with him. And okay, we got some pictures. What have we got next? So I first preached in this Nyakabiga church, which is the mother church of the movement, where the celebrations will take place in about 2000. Even then, the church was full. And even then, they had plans for extension 25 years ago. I mean, I don't usually do church buildings. I don't usually put roofs on. I don't usually, give money to that. I'm, support Bible teaching. But this church has been struggling to complete their extension for the last, 15, 20 years or so. Progress has been slow. It's a very poor country. It's landlocked. Inflation is for all sorts of reasons. But the hope is the building can be finished for these celebrations in September. It just remains to complete. Right. Is there nothing else called Nyakabiga? Okay. Can I give you this? Can I give you this? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sorry, Vernon. These are just a few pictures brought by Special Runner to the top story. So they've done well, and it just remains to put in the windows and the doors. Fairly basic stuff, I understand. But it'll be nice to have the windows and the doors there for the celebration in September. So this one shouldn't say introduction, just let's see what we can find. So Etienne's family, Etienne died about 7 or 8 years ago, kidney trouble. He had to leave Burundi because he wasn't as supportive of the government as they wanted him to be. Big church, they want them all to be sitting around their table, as it were. So he left first for Rwanda, and then he ended up in the States, where his wife, Denise, now, and their 5 children are. Thank you very much. So here's the church we're going to. Nyakabiga Church in Burundi. Thank you. About 600 people meet there every weekend. Beautiful congregation. Yep. Great worship group. Hold on. Thank you. Preach there. Exotic shirts, obligatory. Doing a drama. The Unforgiving Servant, they're brilliant at doing dramas. We did a drama with them. There's a congregation. You see one side the women, one side the men, but you see even then the church is full, hence the need for this extension. Progress has been made. You see where the extension is. You see that the frontage, which we saw in the first picture, and there the extension is on the side. So they're doing well. One more picture, but there, windows and doors still needed. So any support you can give to help us, we'll be sending some money shortly off to them and hope them to finish that work. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next one, the resilience one. I want to speak about resilience this morning. Resilience, a kind of Christian survival guide. How to keep calm and carry on in the Christian life. Great, thank you. But just back again. People often talk, am I a half glass, half empty or a half full person? Well, I don't think it really matters too much. I think we should be a fill the glass person. Fill the glass. I want to live my life to the full. I want to take every opportunity that God gives me. I want to make the best out of everything. I want to be in the game, a participant, not a spectator. I want to be free to live. So resilience is part of that. Resilience training is part, really, of mental health provision. Schools are now having sections on resilience training. It's one of those buzzwords. Reading yesterday, you begin to notice things when they're in your mind. I noticed the word resilience kept on coming up. I mean, one instance, not surprisingly, in the Amazon jungle in Colombia 2 or 3 years ago, a plane crashed, pilot died, all the adults died, and 4 children were left in the Amazon jungle from 13 years, the oldest, down to about 8 months. And they survived for 40 days. And they used the word resilience. And resilience, in fact, interestingly, given to them because they'd learned a bit of jungle survival through their grandmother, how to live in the jungle. She thought it was important for them to learn that because the jungle was their environment. And the singer John Legend told how his mother became an alcoholic in his teenage years, sent to prison. So he says, well, I suppose it teaches you a bit of resilience. So resilience, it's up there, isn't it? So what is it? Well, I think resilience is talking about to regain your original form. If you're sort of pushed out of shape, but resilient, you come back into shape again. You're stretched, but then you come back, you find your original shape. It's elasticity, but then come back to normal. It's buoyancy. You're pressed down the water, but then you come up again. People talk about bouncing back. The ability to bounce back. That's what we're talking about. You get knocked. Resilience, about bouncing back. There's pain, isn't there, in supporting other people in pain. People talk about secondary trauma. You feel what they feel, and it can get you. How to navigate the emotional toll of supporting people. That's what I'm really talking about this morning. How to navigate that emotional toll. Your pain can make me afraid. Your difficult circumstances can, and the danger is I might turn away from getting too close because, I say, it messes up with my well-being. How to continue to be supportive in those difficult times, and how to build resilience into my own life. So that's what I'm talking about. You see what I'm on. To emphasize the need and the means of keeping on. How to access resilience. How to make sure it's growing in our lives. I have to say, it is especially needed in smaller fellowships. Especially needed in those loving, faithful fellowships where you know that you can make a difference. Especially needed. That resilience, that ability to keep on supporting and helping others. I access the prayer app. Some pretty raw stuff there, isn't there? How do we keep on being supportive? How do we keep on praying? How do we keep on? So that's really what I'm talking about this morning. Thank you. Survivor's Guide, and that's meant to be funny, that picture. someone in the jungle, I'm not really thinking about just about, getting by on a few roots and berries. Resilience is a major quality, but it's based on God's faithfulness. God is faithful to give. It's not just up to us. It'll take our skills, our smart business. It's not just up to us. It's because God is faithful. That's how we're going to survive, because God is faithful. So he wants us to survive. Thank you. Resilience, I believe, is about maturity. And those verses which Pam read for us from James. Let perseverance do its work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. How do you develop that perseverance which makes us mature? Well, I think it comes through struggles, through battles. How do you build yourself a strong body? Well, part of the training is you see people who play rugby. They wear great stuff on their back, and they're held in by elastic, and they push against the elastic, and that's what builds up all these muscles you need to be in a scrum. So a lot of training for people who are trying to get body strength is working against those pressures. Is called resistance training, I believe, is it used? Resistance training. Well, that's how we grow strong. We go strong by going through those difficulties, by countering resistance and getting through. And just think of any people in the Bible. Abraham, how much resistance he had from the people around him, and those other ideas, other schemes, rather than the one that God had for him to give him a promised child. Moses, Pharaoh stood firm against him. Moses had to learn to resist Pharaoh, who had all the power, all the shots, all the threats. David, of course, David, Goliath, the Philistines, it was his life, really. If you think of David, you think of the Philistines. All his life, they're there. He develops maturity through resistance. I'm talking about to maintain your faith even if your feelings are telling you something else. That's holding your faith and your trust when your feelings are shouting out some contrary message. Like, run away, or you can't do this. Following Christ when it pays and when it doesn't seem to pay. Following Christ when there doesn't seem too much in it for you, if you pursue that. That's what we're talking about. And God's answer is, when you've run out, is to give you more of what you've run out of. You run out of love, you pray for more love. You run out of trust, this is God's way of giving you more trust. Resilience, I believe, harnesses all our emotions. So I'm really saying part of the path to resilience is to keep all your emotions alive. Don't keep your song locked away. Express that joy. Even if around you, don't feel it's sort of irregular. Don't feel it's reckless to sing even when the difficulties are around you. God puts songs in people's hearts at the most extraordinary time. So resilience, part of that is to keep all our emotions alive, not just our sympathetic emotions, our caring emotions, but also our rejoicing emotions as well. To stay emotionally healthy helps our resilience. Unlike Chippy, silly story, but you're used to me. Chippy the parakeet never saw it coming. One second he was perched in his cage, singing. The next he was sucked in, washed up, blown over. His problem began when the owner decided to clean his cage with a vacuum. She struck the nozzle in to suck up the seeds and feathers in the bottom of the cage. Then the phone rang. Instinctively, she turned to pick up the phone. She barely said hello when swoop, Chippy got sucked in. She gasped. She let the phone drop. She snapped off the vacuum. With her heart in her mouth, she unzipped the bag. There was Chippy, alive but stunned, covered with heavy black dust. She grabbed him. She rushed to the bathtub, turned on the tap full blast, held Chippy under a torrent of ice-cold water, power washing him clean. She did what any compassionate pet owner would do next, of course. She snatched up the hairdryer, blasted the wet, shivering little bird with hot air. They say that Chippy doesn't sing very much anymore. I'm saying keep our emotions switched on. Keep living. Find what gives you joy and make sure that's part of your life. Don't let circumstances say, it's not a time for rejoicing. No. Find that rejoicing. And there's a little picture of kintsugi. You know, this is a form of Japanese art where the breakage, the way the breakage is repaired, and you see on that bowl there, little gold pattern. That's where the pot has been broken, and then you put it together, and it looks more beautiful at the end. You make the treasure out of the scars as well. You make the beauty out of the brokenness. That's why Jesus has his scars in heaven. But there's no need to erase those, to brush them out of the picture. Those scars will always be beautiful, won't they? Thank you. Perseverance, an active element of resilience. We know that it's very important for Jesus to persevere. How long must I put up with you, Jesus said. How long? How long? We know it was an issue for Jesus. How long must I? And there's really nothing in the Christian life comes without perseverance. So in our support for others, we need to learn perseverance in prayer. My friend fell down in the garden. Man about my age fell down, cracked his head. His brain was scrambled. His sight was affected. His balance was affected. His whole life, you could imagine. One thing we did was pray with him every week, even anoint him with oil. So sometimes perseverance in prayer is important. I know we don't always have time. It's better to pray a prayer but sometimes there needs to be that ongoingness in prayer. Sometimes when we're so affected, it's good to use other prayers. I know Pastor Phil puts prayers, and you put prayers on the website. It's good to use those when your own words, you somehow are too affected. You can't come up with the words. It helps you to pray. And of course, when we're praying for people, it's good to be holistic. It's good also to ask them about their life. It's good to encourage them in what they're doing. That just somehow they're not completely closed in on the problem, but they can see their wider life, and you can share that wider life. So let your prayers be holistic. Let your support be holistic. Shall we meet together? Shall we go for a walk? Shall we? So we saw that perseverance prayer. And did you notice in our reading from Philippians, which Sonia gave us, Paul thanked the Philippians for their prayers for him, for your prayers and the supply of the Spirit. So whenever you're a supportive person, make sure you've got people praying for you as well. Pray and be prayed for. Pray and be prayed for. We all need to be prayed. Because really, how it seems prayer works, God's power works in our weakness. We do what we can in some ways, but it's laughably inadequate. And God knows that, but he wants us to do what we can. There's a famous film called The Diving Suit and the Butterfly about a French journalist, Jean-Dominique Bauby. He had a stroke. It left him unable to speak or to move. His mind was unaffected, but he couldn't speak and he couldn't move. The only part of his body under his control was his left eyelid. So he learned to say yes and no through his left eyelid. Do you mean yes? They worked out a board, all the letters of the alphabet. When he came to the right one, he winked. He wrote a book. He wrote a book using that method, The Diving Suit and the Butterfly. Sold 146,000 copies. All because he used that little bit that he could use, just his little wink. You see that? God's power works in our weakness. When we are aware of our weakness, we use God's strength. So we don't pray for others because we know we're immune. We don't pray for others because we are super strong and they're not. But in praying for us, we are sharing in their weakness. We are weak too. We are weak with them. But we know that somehow that God's power is made perfect in weakness. I got that picture there of, 4 young people, if you like, one at junior school, one at secondary school, one at uni, one at parenthood. All those stages are challenging, aren't they? Think of when your kids first went to school. That's a big day. When in our day you used to put the cap on and you had your little shorts and you sent the child off to school. You sort of, it was like sending him like that poor parakeet into that vacuum flask. What's going to come back? And then secondary school, that big change. So resilience is needed really throughout our lives, but somehow God builds up our resilience level as we go through each level. As we keep on going and we keep on growing. Thank you. So resilience also grows by having a non-anxious presence in our life. God has not given us the spirit of fear, that's that little scripture, the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. That non-anxious presence, to cultivate to learn not to catastrophize. To learn not to think too far ahead and say, well, this will go a step down, there are 2 more steps down, I can see we're going to end up here. Not to catastrophize, but to try and keep a calming presence. People talk about building up the resilience river in your life. If you can think about the problems we have, the obstacles we meet, the problems we share with other people, which we support them in, they can be like rocks in a stream, which can sink you, or shallows. But in some ways the answer is not just to avoid the rocks, but is to raise the level of the water. That's another way of not hitting the rocks at the bottom. So we build up our resilience. Good habits, exercise, enjoying the great outside, that world which seems to run itself under God's care. Reading inspirations, songs, books, building ourselves up through good stories. Good diet, I have to say, is probably helpful too. Not to get weighed down by the wrong sorts of food. And conversations, of course. So build up that resilience river in our own lives. Make sure you're spending time on healthy things. So we can think straight. Make good decisions. To know when we've prayed enough. To know when we've done what we can. To know when it's someone else's chance to step in. So we're thinking clearly. To keep the proportion, thank you. Have a sense of proportion in our life, that work, rest, and play. That great Mars Bar mantra of years ago. Work, rest, and play. People talk about muscle rest, how you build, how bodybuilders work. So when bodybuilders want to increase their muscle capacity, apparently, because I've never done it, they know the muscles need to tear. They need to tear. They push themselves further by increasing the weights they lift. It hurts, but this intentional pain increases their ability because the breakage in the muscle fibers causes the body to repair the muscle, which makes it stronger after the repair. In a similar way, going through difficult and challenging times can have the ability to strengthen us. But An important lesson from our bodybuilding friends: they don't keep going, adding more weight each time without pausing. They rest. They build rest into their training. They build rest and play. During that time of rest, the body does its essential work and brings the healing the muscle needs. We need to recognize when we emotionally need to stop and rest, allowing ourselves to repair and strengthen in order to continue. And finally, just our last couple of slides. We grow resilient together. That lovely reading at the end of Philippians, standing as one man, standing as one person, one human being, one man, one woman, standing together for the gospel. We grow resilient together. We can do more together. What you do together affects you. I mean, in a negative way, that's why I've got the mice there. People who I think this is why young children get interested in psychology, because they do extraordinary things. So apparently, this is a test. They found that it takes a high dose of amphetamine to kill a mouse living in solitude. So one mouse there, they feed him amphetamines, and he goes on and on and on. It doesn't knock him over for a long time. But you put a group of mice, you give them all amphetamines, they'll start hopping and jumping around, hyping each other up, so that a dose 20 times less than the one you gave to the single mouse will kill all those mice. Somehow they have an effect on each other. They have an effect on each other. In fact, a mouse that has been given no amphetamines, you put them amid all the hyped up mice, and he'll be dead in 10 minutes. So the people you're with can have an effect on you, for bad, but also for good. I've just been thinking about attachment. And just from we're primed. I mean, the newly born child is in many ways waiting for the first touch, to be touched and to touch the mother's face. And just reading about attachment, the child can't see much, he can only see about a foot away, but he's looking for a face. She's looking for a face to focus on. A face, usually with a smile, of course, a face whom she begins to know cares for it and trusts, and that attachment is built. We live our lives with other people. We become ourselves through other people. We fulfill our potential through other people. We support each other as church in order that each one of us might fulfill our potential. So that attachment, yes, we don't live each other's lives. Some things we can't do, we don't interfere, but there's that sense of being attached that helps us to grow together. So build good relationships. Wonderful thing about church, it's not competitive. Chris has friends, but in some ways he knows some of those people at work are trying to do what he's doing better than he is. He's able to deal with it. But church is a wonderful non-competitive society. Accept our limitations. Some things you can do, I can't do. A lot of things you can do, I can't do. Accept our limitations. Work, it doesn't all depend on me. Even when someone is calling out, it doesn't all depend on me. And thank you. And honesty really is the starting point for all growth. I need help. See, resilience doesn't come just to people with strong willpower. No, resilience comes when you know you can't do it and you're asking for help. Strong relationships come, don't they, when people see you in your vulnerable state, you see you in your pain. They see that you really need them. That's what really triggers good, lasting relationships. Not when we pretended to be other than we are. So honesty is the starting point of that growing together, that ability to support each other. That's where the Holy Spirit works, in that atmosphere of honesty. Thank you. One, and actually I think resilience is bouncing forward. Not just bouncing back, but it's able to take those difficult times and to have a forward bounce. Something you could never do before, you may find you can do when you've been through a difficult time, helping someone else, supporting them, and somehow your faith has grown, your trust has grown, your awareness of God, your sense, well, let's try it. Let's go for it. And you notice Paul's dilemma. He didn't know whether to go to heaven to be with Christ or to stay behind on earth and support the church. Now, there's no record of saying that this time Paul was doubly incontinent and couldn't remember whether he was of the tribe of Benjamin. There's no way that Paul was choosing heaven because his life had ebbed out on earth. It's not saying that. It's a reminder for us in some ways. Paul had a sense that the thing that he was looking forward to, we've used the word adore twice, you alone I adore, that was what all our songs are about. It's the preeminence of the beauty of our Lord Jesus Christ. Of seeing Jesus in such a way that somehow that vision never leaves us, but it draws us on, so we know that's what we're looking forward to more than anything else in the world, in life, in anything else. So Paul had that vision, to be with Christ, which is far better. We need to cultivate that sense. Spending time before the Lord. Yes, as Freddie was counting this morning, Lord, where would I be without you? Well, I wouldn't be alive for a start. Lord, you're the life giver, and I think of my life, and so much I wouldn't have experienced if you hadn't given me life, and how you sustain me, and how you've been there for me when I've lost lots of other things, but somehow you haven't replaced them, but somehow you are there. You have shown me something else, that in some ways you've shown me that you are the one I can only ultimately rely on is you. You are the one I can look to and will never let me down. People don't try to let us down, but they can't do things that we want them to do. You can satisfy me. So Paul had that sense of adoration. I want to be with Christ. It's the most wonderful thing. It's what spurred him on. But you probably need me more. The joy that he would have. So I'd say resilience, helped Paul in his dilemma. Yes, I will stay with these people. He was in prison when he wrote this letter, but I will stay with you because I know I have a chance of contributing to your eternal joy. If I can help you keep following Christ and knowing Christ, and the joy that will bring you will bring me joy and satisfaction like nothing else. So resilience helps us to make very difficult choices. I've been going through the Open the Door World Watch, and you read about all these countries, which it's very difficult to be a Christian in. Yemen, Syria. And one theme almost from the people who are writing, who are helped by the open doors, is to say, I could have left my country, I could have left Yemen, I could have left Syria, but I've decided to stay because I believe that I can help build up those other Christians there so they become strong. So that resilience, aware of doing something eternal, aware of bringing a joy which nothing else can bring. So I'll say that, thank you. So resilience rests on that eternal hope. Yes, we are doing something worthwhile when we're supporting a brother and sister through prayer, through care. We're doing something worthwhile. It has eternal significance. It brings eternal joy. Thank you. Resilience is in fact what happens when we follow Christ. You keep going, you will become resilient. You keep faithful. You do the small steps every week, but that will build resilience into you. So resilience is another word, I think, for following Christ. We grow as we go, as we keep going. So more than education, more than training, more than experience, a person's level of resilience will determine who succeeds and who fails. Resilience is not inherited. Some are born with and others are not. It's just another word for being faithful to our Lord Jesus Christ. and receiving his faithfulness to us. Amen. Shall we just pray?